Welcome to Speak for Yourself. I'm Marcel Swally. He's Emmanuel Acho, and it is Super Bowl week, and it is here in Los Angeles. So let's get right to it. We're 6 days away from the Rams-Bengals and the quarterback battle between Matthew Stafford and Joe Burrow. Stafford is making his first Super Bowl appearance after 13 seasons in the league. On the other side, Joe Burrow helped lead the Bengals to their first Super Bowl in 33 years in only his second season. Acho, what's a better story, Matthew Stafford or Joe Burrow winning the Super Bowl?
I love this dialogue. For me, both phenomenal stories, but the better story is Joe Burrow winning the Super Bowl. Joe Burrow would be one of 5 players in the history of football to win a national championship, a Heisman Trophy, and a Super Bowl. But beyond that, the reason I'm gravitating towards Joe Burrow and his aspect of the story is he took the hard route to do what Matthew Stafford took the easy route to accomplish.
Detroit?
Not their fault. But Joe Burrow goes to a 2-14 team as a number 1 overall pick. And remember, Matthew Stafford went to an 0-16 team as a number 1 overall pick.
Yes.
Both went to terrible teams. Both went to franchises in the midst of a lot of turmoil. One had to leave to get to a Super Bowl, and the other, in 2 years, just simply fought to get the job done. Joe Burrow took the stairs. Matthew Stafford took the elevator. Both got to the same destination, and I will not slight the individual who says, well, Matthew Stafford worked smarter, not harder. I'm not going to slight you, but my preference is Joe Burrow. Sel, as you call yourself the co-host killer, Matthew Stafford is simply a coach killer. Matthew Stafford did not get Jim Schwartz fired. At least he didn't save his job. Matthew Stafford saw Jim Caldwell get fired. Matthew Stafford saw Matt Patricia get fired. Now, obviously, some of those coaches are better than others. But nonetheless, if you are a co-host killer, then Matthew Stafford is surely a coach killer. Meanwhile, Joe Burrow is a coach saver. Zach Taylor was about to be 2 and done. Definitely, potentially 1 and done. 2-14 as a head coach, you ain't got a long leash. 6 wins the next year. But Joe Burrow comes in and leads you to a Super Bowl. Now Zach Taylor will likely be a Coach of the Year candidate going into next year because we slept on him this year. I like how they both got to the top of this mountain. I don't know who will plant the flag at the top of the mountain, but they clearly are both at the top of the mountain. However, my preference is to the individual who saved his coach's life. My preference is to the individual who turned his organization around. My preference is to the individual who made sure everybody else around him in the organization in which he was drafted saw success. He didn't dip to go see success individually.
Strong. I saw what you did there, and I'm going to do that a little bit later, which is all of a sudden some negative recruiting. Like, at first you came out just selling me well on the whole Joe Burrow story. But then you started to kind of look at Matthew Stafford and slight him, and we're not going to do that. Oh, we are? Well, now I'm going to have to slight Joe Burrow. But let me first start off by pumping up Matthew Stafford, whose greatness has been well documented. Write it down. 13 years of greatness, but it hasn't been certified. There's a big difference between it being documented and it being certified. You know any artists out there, any recording artists? I know you know one of my boys. What's his name, Toby? You know
Toby? Yeah, Toby.
He ain't that, what? Okay, yeah, him. Ask him about the difference between being documented, revered, regarded as a tremendous artist, and then all of a sudden it being certified. Plaque on the wall, certified, ring on the finger. Matthew Stafford, oh my God, we see it, we know it, we can tell you're selling it out in terms of how you're performing. You are next level. But where the plaque's at? Now we're going to see the plaque versus Joe Burrow. Now it's time to start negative recruiting. You told me that Joe Burrow took the stairs and Matthew Stafford took the elevator.
Yes, sir. I saw him.
You saw him? Yeah, it's only his second year, so it's only 2 floors on this damn building. Yeah, who wouldn't take the stairs to the second floor? It's not like, I got to take the elevator. Because Matthew Stafford had to go to the 13th floor. 13 years in Detroit. Oh, there ain't even a 13 button on this elevator. What is Matthew Stafford to do? Get off the damn elevator, bro. It's time for me to go out there and show you guys how great I am in terms of not only documentation, but certification. Matthew Stafford will be a better story simply, all jokes aside, is because it will mean more. It would mean more for someone who has everything right there in front of your face, but doesn't have the full respect of what you're seeing. Like, you don't even believe your lying eyes when you see some of the numbers that Matthew Stafford has put up in his career. You look at all of his passing yards and you look at what he's done. top 2 receivers all time in terms of production in a single season, Matthew Stafford's receivers. You see all of the numbers, and you still don't believe your lying eyes because you don't see that certification. This is another reason why it'll be Matthew Stafford a better story. Let's imagine that Matthew Stafford wins this Super Bowl. Matthew Stafford all of a sudden puts himself out of a conversation with Dan Marino, which we keep having, and elevates himself in terms of certification because he's greater than Dan Marino. But if you look at Joe Burrow, if he goes out there and wins the Super Bowl, 2 things happen. 1, wow, what's the encore? How do you follow up that act? And 2, looking at NFL history and looking at the resumes of others who have had fast success, sometimes the highlights are behind them for the rest of their career. So I think it's a setup for an interesting story for Burrow, but for Stafford, it certifies who he is.
Yeah, it's definitely a potential setup, but let's be real. If Joe Burrow were to win a Super Bowl, it would be the greatest accomplishment we have seen in the NFL since Tom Brady taking over for Drew Bledsoe and the 5-11 Patriots and leading them to a Super Bowl. If Joe Burrow can take a Bengals team that had a collective 21 wins in their previous 4 years, a collective 21 wins in their previous 4 years, and lead that Bengals team to a Super Bowl 2 years after arrival, that is the greatest feat we have seen in the NFL in the last 20 years. Everything Matthew Stafford is doing is worthy of praise. It is worthy of applause. And in about 30 more minutes' time on a different topic, I will sing and highlight those praises. But what Joe Burrow is doing is unheard of. It's unparalleled. It's unmatched. We've never seen anything like it, at least not in the last 2 decades. Typically, we understand if you get drafted number 1 overall, you're going to struggle. It's not your fault. It's your franchise's fault. It's a lot of disarray going on
situation.
there. Baker Mayfield, as great as he was in college, Heisman winner. Cleveland, bad situation. Oh, but you got a good head coach, Kevin Stefanski. Maybe you're doing something right. Matthew Stafford, as great as you were in Highland Park High School to Georgia, Detroit, terrible situation. The great Peyton Manning, as great as he was, even his first couple years, bad situation. But Joe Burrow, you defied a NFL rule. No, not a rule, because rules can be changed. You defied a NFL law, a universal law. Number 1 overall picks have a much longer ramp-up period because of where they went. You defied a universal NFL law. That, to me, is greater than anything Matthew Stafford can accomplish because Matthew Stafford had his opportunity. It's not that Joe Burrow went up 2 flights of stairs. It's that Joe Burrow sprinted up his stairs and got to the top. Meanwhile, Matthew Stafford in Detroit was walking and trudging along. That is why, to me, it's a very, very simple Joe Burrow.
Oh, man. All right, let's go through this little history lesson to prove you wrong, even though, man, you're kind of selling me on how you sound right. Peyton Manning didn't struggle for the first couple of years. Don't do that. First year, they were 3-13. Second year, they were 13-3. Peyton Manning didn't play them games, boy. If gave him a defense, he would have won the Super Bowl, too. All right, here's the thing. Let's talk a little history over here, Acho. Tell me about these players and their careers, and tell me, was that early success, was there an encore act to it? You want to go back to 1969? Me either. No. Joe Cap. Okay, whatever. We leave you alone, brother. Vince Ferragamo, my dog. Rams. Got to show some love there. How did that turn out? Season number 3. How did that turn out? Okay, we already know Dan Marino's our reference point right there. Did he go back?
No, sir.
Tony Eason. Jake Delhomme. Remember Jake Delhomme? Remember him? Early. How did that? Colin Kaepernick. How'd that turn out? Russell Wilson's interesting. He can't even get his teammates to appreciate what he did for him. So, Jared Goff. I just listed all the quarterbacks that appeared in the Super Bowl earlier in their careers, year 2, year 3, and then you start to look at the rest of the career. And I don't want to say that it was a bad career. I just want to say that they certainly either plateaued or regressed in terms of team accomplishment after that early success. Flip it, though. Let's juxtapose that to quarterbacks that win it later in their careers, right? How did it turn out for Rich Gannon? You remember Rich Gannon, the machine? All of a sudden, he got all the roses, all the love that he deserved for all the years before because of that same championship. What about Steve Young? Interesting. Remember Steve Young sitting there? I finally got the monkey off my back. Steve Young was sitting there waiting for his moment and his opportunity. To me, in complexion, when someone already has the body of work in front of them, but all they need is that stamp of approval, that stamp that justifies all of those great numbers we see, that's a greater story than the guys who start off fast and then most of them don't even finish strong.
But this has a little bit of that Giannis, Kevin Durant feel.
Ooh.
A little bit of that feel in the aspect of Kevin Durant had to leave Oklahoma City, drafted by Seattle. He had to leave to go join forces with Golden State, a team that was already made, a made man, if you will, to go join forces with a Warriors team that was already in NBA championships, just for Kevin Durant to win a championship. Now, albeit Kevin Durant showed up and, as you would say, instantly became the best player. In my mind, Steph Curry was still the greatest, but I am partial and am not too proud to admit that. So Kevin Durant had to leave and join a team that was already built and could have won with or without him just to get his.
Kevin Durant, that one, that team?
That Kevin Durant.
The 73-win team that didn't win without him?
Sure, I said could have, not did.
Oh, the big word.
But they could have won with or without him. They were 1-2, 1-1 rather, in NBA championships.
A little Chiefs dynasty without him. And
50%.
Okay.
They were 66% with Kevin Durant. So Kevin Durant gave him a 16% bump. Nonetheless, Giannis, on the other hand, stays in Milwaukee, grinds it out, and brings Milwaukee a title. Both got chips. Clearly now they both have MVPs to their name. Giannis, a couple of them things. So when I look at it, it's just which way do you like it? If you like the fact that KD got his and he got his regardless, so shut up, cool. Yeah. But I'm the kind of guy who's like, wait a second, Giannis, you were the worst rated player on NBA 2K, albeit a video game, but nonetheless, you were the worst rated player on a team that won 15 games your first year there, and now that team is the most winning franchise over the last 3 years in NBA basketball, and you brought that team a chip, and you didn't leave, and you decided to double down and stay there and sign your Supermax there. Now, Joe Burrow has clearly had more instantaneous success than even Giannis has in Milwaukee, but it depends how you like it. I like the guy who rescues an organization, sustains an organization, builds up the organization that he went to, as opposed to the guy who's like, oh, it's already hot over there? Yeah, let me just go see what they got going over there. It was already hot in Los Angeles. The Rams were in the playoffs last year. The Rams were in the Super Bowl 3 years ago. The Rams were in the playoffs the year before that. Matthew Stafford just went into his organization that already had it great and made it greater. Joe Burrow went to a situation that was porous and made it excellent.
Yeah, and that was an excellent point right there. It's weird because your points sound amazing until you actually apply them to the players, and then it loses some of its steam. Let's be real. Who would you rather be in terms of legacy, in terms of regard, in terms of who you are in NBA lore? Kevin Durant or Giannis?
Kevin Durant right now. Absolutely.
Kevin Durant forever, eternity. Like, what do you mean they're trying to insert Kevin Durant in the top 10 conversation of all time. That would never happen for Giannis. And
me, sir?
Huh?
Giannis is not going to go down as a higher player than Kevin Durant.
No. We can do that. NBA, look, this is our last week of football. And then we're going to get to, we could talk some. Oh, are you kidding me? Kevin Durant went to a team that already had an MVP in Steph Curry, a champion in Steph Curry, and he won 2 finals MVPs. Steph Curry, you got 0. And then the third year, we were going to win it again, but guess what? I get hurt, and that's where that went. I don't want to have that conversation fully right now.
Giannis has 2 MVP awards, right?
Oh, yeah, I respect.
Kevin Durant
Joe Burrow's no chump. Matthew Stafford, Matthew Stafford's no chump. All I'm saying is whose legacy really got the bump from that championship? Kevin Durant, because Kevin Durant was walking around here like, I'm probably the best pure scorer the NBA's ever seen. Now I got something on the wall to show y'all it's more than just me. And I think that's what Matthew Stafford, he already has all of the statistics that say that's a Hall of Famer. That's a Hall of Fame career. But what's keeping him a little outside in terms of perception is what's on the wall. And I think that's what's going to matter more for him. Joe Burrow, go put it on the wall for him. Amazing. I just know how the NFL has worked for every other quarterback that they did that for. Not another one has ever went back to that wall and said, here we go.
But what is
John Elway, maybe?
What's more unforeseen? To me, that makes for the better story. The better story for me is something that's more unique, something you rarely have seen or have never seen before, something that you've rarely ever seen or you might never see again. A great story cell to me is a story that can't be duplicated. Right? Think about some of your favorite movies, some of my favorite movies, some of your favorite comedy shows, right? You will forever say Eddie Murphy is one of your favorites. He might not be a favorite. I don't know if you're a Richard Pryor guy, et cetera. But Eddie Murphy will forever be one of your favorites because Eddie Murphy can't be duplicated.
Man.
Kevin Hart come up here with all the jokes. I was watching Dave Chappelle comedy stand-up last night. He'd be there with all the jokes. But Eddie, to me, gave you a story that can't be duplicated. In the same breath, Joe Burrow, you will not see another NFL player, at least anytime soon, turn a 2-14 franchise around to the Super Bowl within a 2-year span. Why? Because we've never seen it up to this point. You will not see another NFL player, at least anytime soon, in his second year as a starter, win a Super Bowl. We're assuming Joe Burrow were to win. Even the great Patrick Mahomes, in his second year as a starter, got defeated by Tom Brady. It was his second year in the league, got defeated by Tom Brady. His third year in the league, he won the Super Bowl. So to me, Joe Burrow's story is greater because we've never seen it before, and likely we'll never see it again. We've seen a bunch of old heads, if you will, win later in their career. Like you talked about, Rich Gannon, John Elway, Steve Young. We've seen a bunch of old heads go get theirs later on in their career. Yeah. But to see a new cat come do it, that's the story that can't be duplicated, or at least won't be duplicated, and that makes it a better story.
It's weird that you say that this can't be duplicated, but Tom Brady did it, and Tom Brady did it at the same rate, same speed, or if faster, because his first year as a starter, he won a Super Bowl. So we've seen that before. You're not going to beat that. Then you say, well, versus a guy who was a castaway or forgotten or not fully respected, and later in his career he wins it. John Elway kind of touches both. He went early in his career, lost. Then he comes back and wins back-to-backs on his way out. So we have seen Joe Burrow's story before. We actually seen a better version of it. If you don't,
not like this.
Well, why not? Because he didn't go to as bad a situation, Tom Brady.
That's where I'm at. Like, what makes Joe Burrow's story so great, Sel, is what you always talk about, the distance traveled.
Yeah.
He went to such a bad situation. Like a Bengals team, you fear getting drafted by that team. Personalizing it. When I got drafted 2012, I went to the Cleveland Browns. I got that call from that Ohio number. First off, didn't recognize it. Second off, didn't know where Ohio was on the map. Third off, I was like, yo, I got to go to the Browns. I'm thrilled I'm drafted, but I'm still like, I got to go to the Browns. This team hasn't won in God knows how long. Now I actually know they hadn't won since 2002, been to the playoffs. They hadn't won a playoff game since 94. So I'm sitting here like with a little bit of trepidation, understanding, one, I'm just a linebacker, was just a 6th-round pick. I can only affect the franchise that much, but like, I got to go here. Joe Burrow did that, took that messy of a situation and took him all the way to a title.
To a title? Did he get the title? Did he acquire the title? You ever get a house? You got to get the title. It ain't your house until you get the title, okay? You know what this is? Here's another comp for it. If he doesn't win, and I'm not wishing any ill on my man, if he doesn't win, he went to a team that last year, how many wins they have? 4.
Bengals?
Yeah, 2 wins 2 years ago.
6 last year.
Yeah, 6, right? You know who went to a team that only had 4 wins, and then all of a sudden you look around, they're in the Super Bowl as well? Jimmy G. What about that story? You love that story? You want to see that movie again? Is that Eddie Murphy funny to you? See, that's the point. Like, you keep giving me these comps, and if we just dive into the archives of the cinema, we've seen these acts before, man, in different versions. Wish them both well, but boy, that castaway in Stafford, to me, gets the Oscar. Coming up, Joe Burrow is Super Bowl bound in his second season, but I'll tell you if he's had a better start in his career than Patrick Mahomes. Nice, but first, Aaron Rodgers is not leaving Green Bay if the front office has their way. I'll tell you if their desperation is a good look. Next, on Speak for Yourself. Jimmy G did that.
Well, Aaron Rodgers' future is up in the air after Green Bay's playoff exit, but Packers CEO Mark Murphy said head coach Matt LaFleur and the front office are in agreement that they want Aaron Rodgers back. Adding, quote, he is likely to win his 4th league MVP, is the unquestioned leader of our team, and is still playing at a high level at age 38. Woo.
Yes.
They told me desperate to me, so Sel, is the Packers' desperation a good look?
It's a great look. It's a mature look. It's an admirable look. Just in life, how bad do you want something if you're not willing to show me that you really want it? Like, just as a simple premise, when any interaction, any encounter, anything you desire, that job, that relationship, if you're not going to show me a little thirst, how bad do you really want it? Like, it's okay to be thirsty. I think in this world, 2 things happen that are wrong in terms of, like, the perception of it. 1, it's okay to be thirsty. And 2, snitches shouldn't get stitches. No, they should tell. Y'all asses shouldn't be doing nothing bad. That's the problem right there. So let's get back to reality. One of the things I love to do, and I had to coach myself into doing it, is showing my desire on my sleeve. And even if you flip sleeves, like, oh, God, I used to want this, but now I want this, it's okay to show your desire on your sleeve. You want Aaron Rodgers. Now, let's be real. You had to flip sleeves because there was a time where you're like, we don't want Aaron Rodgers. We want Jordan Love. And it's okay to be real like that. Today, people will call that being down to earth. When you just show a normal attribute, a normal sensibility to, oh, I want that, and I'm actually going to show it. I'm a pet lover, more of a cat lover than a dog lover. You got a dog? You got any? No pets? Fish? Anything? Any connection to anything outside of the Acho? Okay, that's fine. All right. My auntie has a dog. And you know what's so funny about dogs? They can show you like some of our animal instincts, but we too cool to show them, right? Case in point, I love going over there and giving them hot links. Like, look, just a big old fat links. Dogs act donkey over links. Right? And so I'm sitting there like, he shows me what he wants. In moments like this, just show him what you want. Slobber at the mouth. Aaron Rodgers, please stay. Oh, sorry, I hate Jordan Love. Do whatever you got to do to keep Aaron Rodgers in the building because he is still playing at that higher level.
I hate it. I like you, dislike your take, and hate the Packers' desperation even more for this reason. Rodgers is going to do what he wants to do, big dog. So it does not really matter how much love you express to Aaron Rodgers. He is going to do what he wants to do.
Okay.
You expressed all the love in the world last year to Aaron Rodgers. Brian Gutekunst, Mark Murphy, Matt LaFleur. Everybody came out at one point in time and said, we want Aaron Rodgers back. And he still took you all through hell and high water and did not come back because you all asked him nicely. He came back because that was best for Aaron Rodgers. We are all selfish, all intrinsically selfish, naturally selfish. Aaron Rodgers has proved to be more selfish than most, or at least he's been more quiet with his selfishness. Think about the whole COVID ordeal. Aaron Rodgers, do what's best for you. You want to be immunized? Be immunized. But he was private with his immunization, a more selfish decision. You've been public with your status. So many others public with their status. Do what you want to do, but don't let what you're doing be so selfish in nature and verbalization. So Aaron Rodgers is going to do what he wants to do. No point in begging him to come back. Other thing with the aspect of being thirsty. Let's be real, Sal.
Okay.
If somebody wants you, they want you.
They want you.
And if they don't, they don't. And your thirst is actually just going to push them further away.
You better tell that story. Don't try and clean it up. You act like you didn't have something to talk about. I'm listening.
I'm going to talk about two things.
Yeah, I know you are.
The first thing I'm going to talk about is this.
What?
When somebody is begging to get you back, it makes you wonder, why are they begging so hard? What did you do to be in a position to have to beg to want me back? That's only going to remind Aaron Rodgers, oh, yeah, y'all drafted Jordan Love. Because I'm under contract for next year. So why in God's name do you have to come out and say, of course we want Aaron Rodgers back? He's under contract. He has to come back. Andy Reid ain't going out there, yeah, man, we really want Patrick Mahomes back next year. Mike McCarthy, man, we really want Dak Prescott back next year. They are legally bound to come back. So when you're begging Aaron Rodgers like that, he's wondering subconsciously, why are they begging me? So, oh, yeah, this is why, and it's just going to add more fuel to that fire.
Boy, you just show me your status every day in every way. Man, I don't know why you got a problem with being thirsty. I don't understand why you don't want to give Aaron Rodgers and this Green Bay situation the proper fuel and perspective it needs. Let's talk through this one. You the dude, or you the dude that's like, I ain't gonna holler at her because she ain't gonna holler back. So you just don't even go through the effort. You're the dude that one day looks around and sees that ugly guy with that fine girl. And you wonder how. You know why? Because he didn't give a damn about how it was going to turn out. He showed his effort before he wanted to see the achievement. Acho, I didn't know you were like that. We haven't hung out just yet, but let me find out you don't shoot your shots because you don't think you're going to make them. Interesting. So you don't show love because you still think that he's going to leave regardless. When, one, he's under contract, so go where?
Exactly that part.
Two, there has never been an NFL MVP not back on that same team the next year. Never. Well, I cooked the books a little bit. Norm Van Brocklin and Jim Brown, they retired. So Aaron Rodgers, that's your point.
Why beg?
Because
you're giving me every reason not to beg.
I'm giving you every reason to beg. Because you want Aaron Rodgers to now feel the appreciation of this situation because you've come to a different realization. You can't stay in the same relationship and say, oh, I'm going to beg you back, but I'm going to treat you the same. No. You beg back to get them like about face, 180. Okay, you know what? You come to your senses. You now understand what you did wrong. Now treat me differently. They tried last year. Oh, we're going to bring in your boy. We're going to bring in old man. We're going to bring in a receiver. What's the old man name? I forget his name. The old slow dude really brought in.
Randall Cobb.
That dude. Corn on the cob. They brought in corn on the cob, right? They didn't really help out. They started to treat him differently, but they know what they have in Aaron Rodgers in terms of greatness. Now the realization is kicked in. And in part, let's just be real about this. It's not because we love you more, Aaron Rodgers. We just hate Jordan Love more because of what he's not in terms of our expectations. But that means this same relationship is going to go differently.
Sel,
and I'm going to beg you to keep it.
Sometimes you forget, life because you get so entrenched and enamored in ball. So let me remind you about life.
I love this.
Let me remind you about life. Let me remind y'all about life. Everybody watching this show has been in this situation, I promise you.
Let's go.
When somebody is asking for your number and you are not interested in that person, thus you do not want to give it, it does not matter how smooth, how sweet, how kind, how suave they ask for that number. Regardless, your internal response will be, they really asked me for my number. He was such a creep. Dude, I cannot stand her. Because you did not want to give them the number in the first place. However,
let's talk.
When somebody does, when you do want to give your number to somebody, it does not matter how much they stumble, how much they fumble, how much they lose, how awkwardly they ask for your number. It was so cute. He couldn't even get the question out.
Yes.
It was so adorable.
Ooh, you're breaking it down. Let's go. Let's go.
He forgot my name. Because it doesn't actually matter the ask. What matters is how did you feel about the person asking?
Yes, facts.
So it does not matter that the Packers are acting desperate. All that matters is how does Aaron Rodgers feel about the person asking? Because we've all been in the situation where it does not matter the question. It only matters the question asker. It does not matter the statement. It only matters the statement maker. And the statement maker is Mark Murphy, the CEO of the Packers. As long as Aaron Rodgers does not want the Packers and Mark Murphy, it does not matter how suave and smooth and charismatic this ask is, because Aaron Rodgers ain't checking for him no way.
Oh, tremendous take. It doesn't apply to this situation fully, and let's talk about it.
Please.
You keep going past the point of understanding and knowledge of do they want you or not. You got to go up to her and talk before you know if she wants you or not. How do you know, Aaron Rodgers? How do you know, Acho? Unless you talk to the Green Bay Packers. Unless the Green Bay Packers holler at you. Now, this is the situation you're talking about, and I want to go deeper into it because I love it. Y'all broke up. It's a wrap, basically. And y'all haven't talked in a while. You guys are at odds, blah, blah, blah. Then you send that text across the bow. Let's see how this text goes. Then you see the 3-dot bubbles. But you've been seeing them for a while. You're like, damn, are they ever going to hit send? 3-dot bubbles, right? Let me tell you what happens. Two things. Either they reply or they don't reply. If they don't reply, it's a wrap. If they do reply, you got a chance no matter what they say. Because there's only one worse emotion than hate. Like, they can write back and just blast you. Aaron Rodgers can write back, I don't give a damn about this organization. There's one thing worse than that. You know what it is? Apathy. Did Aaron Rodgers, after the season, stay in Green Bay longer? Did Aaron Rodgers have a long, full-day meeting with the Green Bay Packers? That ain't apathy, dog. That's him writing down what he don't like about this organization, but he still responded to that text. Everybody I ever dated that said they couldn't stand myself, but they responded to that text, they still wanted to be with myself. Let me tell you one more thing. This is you, Acho, and we're not going out now. We're going to put another month into it. Not going out now. I know you. Acho, don't be that dude at the club. You over cool. Oh, man, she ain't check. Oh, I don't like it. Like, you like this song, right? And you that dude doing this. I'm like, Acho, let it go. I know you like the song. You played it on the Uber on the way here. I hate when people do that. Don't be too cool for school, man. You end up being that fool, man. Coming up, will Matthew Stafford's season be a disappointment if he loses in the Super Bowl? We'll answer that next on Speak for Yourself. Oh, you just stand on tables? He's less than a week away from his first Super Bowl appearance. And if you include the playoffs, he's had a career season in passing touchdowns and yards in year one with the Rams. Currently has the best odds to win the Super Bowl MVP according to Fox Bet Sportsbook. Acho, will Matthew Stafford's season be a disappointment if he loses the Super Bowl?
Not at all. Matthew Stafford, win, lose, or draw. Not only is this season a success, your tenure in Los Angeles is a success. Win, lose, or draw. All Matthew Stafford had to do in coming to Los Angeles was prove to be better than Jared Goff in Los Angeles. That's all he had to do. Well, let's remember the ceiling for Jared Goff was a Super Bowl appearance. It appears that the floor for Matthew Stafford is a Super Bowl appearance. Understand the difference there.
Yeah.
The highest heights, the peak of Jared Goff's mountain with Sean McVay is a Super Bowl appearance. Whereas as it stands right now, the valley of Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay is a Super Bowl appearance. So for that reason alone, Matthew Stafford's tenure in Los Angeles is also already a success. Take it one step further. Jared Goff, Sean McVay went to a Super Bowl one time in 4 years.
Okay.
That was that combination. Matthew Stafford's already gone to a Super Bowl with Sean McVay one time in 1 year. So Matthew Stafford could play 1,000 more days or 3 more seasons, go to no more Super Bowls, and his tenure in Los Angeles is already parallel to the tenure of Jared Goff. There's no way that Matthew Stafford can disappoint the NFL fans, the Rams fans, or the Rams organization because we traded picks for you in order for you to do things that Jared Goff couldn't do. Sean McVay, Jared Goff's first year together, playoffs, lost. Sean McVay, Matthew Stafford's first year together, Super Bowl appearance. They are already ahead of where he was with Jared Goff. It does not matter how the Super Bowl turns out. I would go as far as to say it does not matter how the rest of his tenure turns out, at least for the next 1,000 days, at least for the next 3 seasons. Matthew Stafford is already above pace with what Jared Goff was doing in Los Angeles.
Man, I wish that was real. I wish that was the reality we live in, but you're just too sensible to be a fan. I could tell you're not a fan of this Rams team. I could tell you're not a fan of Los Angeles sports. You can't be because a fan is short for fanatic. And you go into any barbershop saying what you gave me, which was a succinct, concise elevator pitch. But your facts got in the way of the story. Nobody want to hear all that. You got 1,000 days. Man, he better than Jared Goff. He better do better than Jared Goff because you said he's already proven he's better than Jared Goff. Yeah, but everyone wants to see the proof. Where are the receipts? You got to show me something. Numbers? Man, get out of here. Everybody had numbers. You had numbers before you got here. And all those breakfast balls, to bring it up in golf terms, all those breakfast balls, mulligans you had, 13 years in Detroit, those are behind you, brother. These strokes count when you're in Los Angeles because floor or ceiling, Jared Goff, who's a lesser quarterback than you, got us to the Super Bowl. Conventional wisdom would say, you're better than him. You got to go out there and prove it. You know why? Sometimes in life, you get caught up in like a transactional experience. Take the humanity out of it. Take the facts. Take the logic. It's just a transaction. I don't know about you, but one of my favorite apps, Thumbtack. I love Thumbtack. And if y'all heard that, hit me up. Might do something for y'all on the cheap for a discount. Thumbtack is a transactional experience. You know, I need you to come over to my house and hang up 10 pictures, all of my Hall of Fames from all of my Pop Warner years. You know what I mean? It's super stuff like that. But I want you to be on time. But let me be real. Not necessary. You know, that's why they give you the window, 11 to 1. Fool, come at 11. Nah, 11 to 1. Then when you get there, we ain't got to talk. We ain't got to be cool. You ain't got to be nice to me. Just hang these things up, please. It's a transactional experience. I don't want you, Matthew Stafford, to come out here and think, oh, it's about how much you love L.A. and how you made the offense look better and how cool you are and a great leader. Nah, B. You got one thing on this Thumbtack to do. Put a damn Super Bowl championship in that trophy case. If not, nothing else will matter to Matthew Stafford.
I like it. I don't know if I believe it, but I like it. Even if he doesn't put a Super Bowl in a trophy case this year, I think we'll look around and say, man, this Joe Burrow dude is just so special.
Yes.
We'll look around and say, but Joe Burrow went to LSU and had the greatest team there. It's Joe Burrow's a transcendent figure. It's not on you, Stafford. The fact that Stafford has already beat the Arizona Cardinals in the playoffs, he beat Tom Brady in the playoffs, he beat the Niners and Jimmy G in the playoffs, and he has a better playoff appearance than regular season appearance. Look at his numbers in the playoffs versus regular season. Passing yards per game, they're up. Completion percentage, it's up. Touchdowns to interceptions, it's up. Passer rating, it's up. So when you look at Matthew Stafford's performance in the playoffs versus Matthew Stafford's performance in the regular season, everything is heightened, everything is elevated. Barring him laying an egg in a Super Bowl, he did everything y'all paid him to do. He had a better record regular season than Jared Goff. He went to a Super Bowl faster than Jared Goff, and he's playing better in the postseason than the regular season. He came into the season 0-3 in the playoffs. He's going into the Super Bowl 3-3 in the playoffs. what else can you ask for Matthew Stafford outside of that one thing, which only one man can deliver to you every year? There's a 1 in 32 chance that Stafford was going to win the Super Bowl. Now, realistically speaking, say 12 teams are sorry. There's a 1 in 20 chance that Stafford's going to deliver you to a Super Bowl. Okay, realistically speaking, Gacho, say only 10 teams are good. It's still a 1 in 10 or 10% chance that Stafford's going to give you a Super Bowl. And the fact that he's in that game is enough. He's defied all the odds.
Let's go to our favorite sport, track and field. This time, C block. Took us a little time to get here. Trayvon Brumell. Poor Trayvon.
He lost his first race, by the way, last week.
Yeah, poor Trayvon Brumell. Last year, you know it's crazy when you're out there PRing, when you're out there just showing everybody that this is the best version of yourself. That doesn't necessarily put you in the world rankings. It means you're the best version of you. But Trayvon did put himself in the world rankings. Going into the Olympics, you remember what Trayvon Brumell was?
Number 1 in the world.
Number 1 in the world in the 100 meter, right? Number 1 in the world. Did he win the gold?
No, sir.
Trayvon, the best version of you didn't even go out there and finish what you started. So then you start to look at the entire season as is there a similar word? Disappointment. Because we see the best version of Matthew Stafford, right? And as you said, this looks like the best version of the Rams versus Jared Goff. But if you don't come home with the goal, big dog, what does that mean? This is trivia for you because I don't remember. Who did Joe Burrow beat in the national championship game? I forget real quick. Tell me.
Clemson.
Yeah, but who was the quarterback?
Would have been Trevor Lawrence.
Trevor Lawrence, was it? Like, you ain't sitting with your chest means and kind of weird, huh? That dynamic. When you lose the Super Bowl, bro, you in a whole different space. Like, we be like,
you never remember the loser. I think it was Trevor. Yeah, he beat Oklahoma in the semis, and then I think it was Trevor Lawrence.
I could easily have Googled that before I brought it up, but that's my point.
Yeah.
Disappointing.
Yeah.
Matthew Stafford, we're not going to forget you, Matthew Stafford. You're the quarterback of the Los Angeles Rams at SoFi Stadium. However, we don't look at you differently, dog. It's as simple as that. You can't be better than your competition. You can't be the best version of yourself and then come home with no medals. And then the next year you lose your first race. It's not going to be pretty if you lose this one.
Let me go to my favorite equation in life, not the Pythagorean theorem. My favorite equation in life is expectations minus reality equals disappointment. Expectations minus reality equals disappointment. Or to flip that, make it easier, because I always hated when they put what happened at the end of the equal sign. Disappointment equals expectations minus reality. What were the expectations for Stafford year one, Sale? The expectations weren't win a Super Bowl. I think the hope, the optimism was win a Super Bowl, but realistically, the expectations go deep in the playoffs, have a really good regular season record, don't suck, be better than Jared Goff. And like those were the expectations. I think they were fairly loose. They were areas of gray. Win some playoff games, make a good little run, be better than Jared Goff, have a good regular season record, maybe be in the MVP conversation. Expectations. What's the reality?
Okay.
The reality, he's in the Super Bowl. So the disappointment can't be that great because expectations minus reality will equal disappointment. So if the expectations were win some playoff games, then the reality is that you're in a Super Bowl. What's the big disappointment, big dog?
Oh, I had to look at this one before I asked you and had this dialogue with you. I went back to the day Matthew Stafford was traded just to see the headlines because you said the expectations. Matthew Stafford traded for 2 first-round picks, a 3rd-round pick, and must win the Super Bowl. Marcellus Wiley Times. All they talk about is the transaction. 2 firsts and a 3rd, and you just gonna do what Jared Goff did? Well, we get rid of Jared Goff for it. Make that make sense.
I'll make it make sense.
Okay.
Let's put it in context.
What
did the Rams trade to acquire Jared Goff? You remember this. The Rams traded several first-round picks back in the gap to acquire Jared Goff. Remember what the Eagles traded to acquire Carson Wentz. Remember what the Washington football team at the time traded to acquire Robert Griffin.
The Commanders? Say it. Say it. We got to get it out there.
But the Commanders traded to acquire Robert Griffin.
Okay.
All of these teams traded several first-round picks.
Okay.
Jared Goff went to a Super Bowl with the Rams. Yeah. Carson Wentz, they won a Super Bowl. You could say he went. Clearly, we know what happened there.
Ooh.
Robert Griffin, Rookie of the Year, never went to a Super Bowl, went to the playoffs. So the expectation for trading several picks to acquire a quarterback has always been Super Bowl. Will you win it or will you not? Carson Wentz, they won it. Jared Goff, he didn't win it. Robert Griffin, he was good, but he got hurt. So Matthew Stafford's already exceeded the what are you giving up for a quarterback expectation.
But has he altered their fate because they expected him to alter their fate. Now, every time I go and travel, any hotel I stay at, they always say, hey, Mr. Wiley, how are you doing? I'm saying, oh, I'm fine, I'm great, sitting there. Oh, I'm doing all that. And then they say, so what would you like for your reading selection in the morning? And I'm like, give me the USA Today. I don't try to act too nerdy. Wall Street. I never read the Wall Street Journal. Now I'm going to do it when I'm on the road. Point being, USA Today comes in. And they got the little colors up at the top, red, green, all that. I'm reading all the sections. USA Today. Headline, Matthew Stafford trade altered future for Rams. That means if you're altering something and it was already at a Super Bowl appearance, did you alter it for better or did you alter it for worse? Because altered means it's not going to be the same. Being here ain't good enough. You already on past that step that you didn't get here. Now you got to truly alter it and get to the ring.
Question I have for you then is, what's the statute of limitations on a Super Bowl appearance? For example, I know it's outlandish if we were to come up here and say Lamar Jackson did not alter the fate of the Ravens. Granted, the Ravens were in a Super Bowl and won it in 2012, and Lamar Jackson shows up in that 2018 season, 6-year gap. So what's the statute of limitations? Because Jared Goff went to a Super Bowl in 2018, but we're in 2022 right now. Yeah. So are you saying that 4 years is the line of demarcation? 6 years? Because we can confidently say Lamar Jackson altered the trajectory of the Ravens. But someone could argue they was in a Super Bowl 6 years prior. Yeah. My retort to you is, yes, the Rams were in a Super Bowl, but that was 2018. Yeah. Matthew Stafford clearly altered the trajectory of the Rams organization because it's been a while.
Yeah, that's interesting that you brought that up. You were on the debate team, I could see, in school. You remove variables, you isolate variables, you do a great job at it. I would retort roster construction. Like, you got the same coach, Sean McVay, got the same coach, John Harbaugh, respect over there. But at the same time, you don't have the same roster. And I think we always give a little bit of runway for teams to build the roster around you. Joe Burrow's like, I don't need that runway. Just let me hurry up and get this thing going. So that would be my only response, even though maybe not a suitable response. In this situation, though, I wish we could live both realities. I want to see him win it and see the reaction, and I also want to see him lose it and see the reaction. But I guarantee you this, they won't be the same. So disappointment may be on the table. Speaking of Matthew Stafford and the Super Bowl, Terry Bradshaw still has plenty of money to give away, so Fox Bet Super 6 is running Stack the Cash one more time. Last two jackpots. I did it again. Jackpots. I'm going to keep running with that. Surpassed $325,000. They want you to make this one even bigger. Scan the QR code, download the Super 6 app, enter your picks in the Super Bowl contest for your chance at the growing jackpot. And invite your friends too, because the more people who enter, the bigger the jackpot gets. Coming up, it looks like Lovie Smith will be the next head coach in Houston. Got a lot to say about this next on Speak for Yourself. Is he black?
We got breaking news in Houston. Reports say Lovie Smith will be named the new head coach of the Texans. Now, Smith spent last season as Houston's associate head coach and defensive coordinator. This will be his third go-round as head coach after stints with the Bears and the Bucs. Got head coaching drama, Sal. Ain't nothing better than head coaching drama on this show. Sal, what's your reaction to the Texans move?
My reaction? My first reaction was to ask you, were they interested in Lovie Smith before Brian Flores' lawsuit? Like, I just keep it simple. Like, where does interest come from? Is this interest coming from outcrying? Is this interest coming from backlash? Or is this sincere interest? Why do I ask? Because some people are already pushing back at me for asking that by saying, it doesn't matter. They got another black head coach in the NFL. That's all we want. Here's the problem. If there's not sincere interest, you won't get full support. If you're forced by whatever circumstances to do something that you truly don't desire, you don't activate your full desire. So all of a sudden you get into situations where I don't want to go as far as say you're set up to fail, because ultimately it's on the players and the coach and whatever they can produce on the field. But let's just say when there's a tie, you will lose. I'm interested to see their level of desire. I'm interested to see their level of commitment going forward to Lovie Smith, because all reports I'd seen before were heading and trending towards Josh McCown. Now, he doesn't look like Lovie Smith Actually, nobody looks like Lovie Smith with that beard except Dr. Harry Edwards. That's the wisest man on the planet right there. He looks amazing. And this is no slight to his coaching career because overall he's a winner. This is nothing about Lovie Smith. This is about what situation Lovie Smith finds himself in. So my first lap was just basically, this kind of came out of nowhere, but I know where it came from. And I'm interested to see what you think of.
I do not like the Lovie Smith hire.
Okay.
But I don't like the Lovie Smith hire from a general perspective. The Texans keep hiring these stopgap head coaches when they need to find their head coach of the future. I personally am hard-pressed to believe that the 62-year-old Lovie Smith is about to be the Texans' next generational head coach. I'm hard-pressed to believe that personally. We saw the Broncos hire Vic Fangio 2-3 years later. Vic Fangio has gone out the door. We saw them make that decision. I just don't see this working from a football perspective, not a race perspective. Look who is in the Super Bowl right now. Sean McVay, offensive mind. Zach Taylor, offensive mind. Okay, let's look who was in the championship games. Kyle Shanahan, offensive mind. Sean McVay, offensive mind. Zach Taylor, offensive mind. Andy Reid, offensive mind. Okay, let's look who was in the Elite Eight, if you will. And now I'm just doing this off my head because I did not prep this in the notes. But then you have Sean McDermott. Oh, okay. Good defensive mind. But you still find a way to have the Andy Reids, the Bruce Arians, offensive minds of the world. Look at the entirety of the playoff picture. Mike McCarthy, offensive mind. Nick Sirianni, offensive mind. Sean McVay, offensive mind. Kyle Shanahan, offensive mind. Bruce Arians, offensive mind. Matt LaFleur, offensive mind.
Damn.
The whole NFC, you had nothing but offensive minds. Now, when you flip to the AFC, you might have a chance with a couple of the defensive minds in there. But what the NFL has shown us, at least as of late, offensive minds will take you to the promised land. Go back to last year's playoffs. Final 8 teams, 6 offensive minds, a special teams coach in John Harbaugh, so a special teams mind overall, and Sean McDermott, 1 defensive mind. The NFL's game tells you right now, more often than not, these new offensive-minded head coaches are the way to go. Why? Because the rules are geared and oriented towards an offensive mind. So if I'm seeing that these young offensive minds are soliciting success, why would I want to go hire an older defensive mind when my older defensive mind example in Vic Fangio, who was a phenomenal defensive mind? The Bears had the number 1 defense in the NFL when Vic Fangio got hired from the defensive coordinator position to be the Broncos head coach, and you saw that flame out. I do not like the hire. I'll get more into that next, but I don't like the hire out the gate.
Now, we know that the NFL is a copycat league. We also know that whatever the trend is, that will obviously lead the copycatting. Here's the thing. You're just giving me a list of successful offensive-minded coaches. And looking at the Texans situation, why do they need an offensive-minded coach? You see what they're ranked in terms of offense? They're dead last. Why? They do need an offensive-minded coach. Oh, no. We need a defensive-minded coach. We're 31st. Dog. Lovie Smith, this is so crazy. Let's just take color out of the conversation for the beginning, at least. The only opportunities that exist for head coaching opportunities and jobs are usually bad situations, right? So now you are going to a bad situation, but you're asked to fix it. There are issues with his resume in terms of Lovie Smith. Is he really the guy for the job? Remember last time we saw him losing 6-10. Year before that, 2-14. Is he really the guy? You go to a bad situation, and if this is in response to all the backlash and the outcry, then not only did you go to a bad situation, but you're not going to get good support in this bad situation because ultimately you're not what we desired. Let me also just kind of give myself the props for doing the homework and for reminding people once again that black head coaches are rehired at a higher rate than white head coaches. Lovie Smith is now the first black coach to ever be hired 3 different times. I only bring that up because what's leading the charge? Is it our love and respect for the coach and resume of Lovie Smith, or our appeasement of those who are crying about we don't have a black head coach? I just hope he's not set up to fail and just really just keep circling around that. But it looks like this is a situation that one, on paper is disastrous, but it's an opportunity. But is he the man for the job to fix this?
Okay, I spent my first 2 layers making it non-racial because I genuinely don't think, I just didn't want to spend my time analyzing there. But there is a racial conversation and a racial aspect to be had.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a coincidence that since the Brian Flores suit, we've seen, 2 black head coaches now being hired. As it pertains to Lovie Smith, I'm just like, you now have to be excellent in a situation that is far from excellent. Whew. Because if the demand or request, rather, was, we want more black head coaches, okay, go ahead, Lovie. Take the worst possible coaching situation in football right now, in my mind. You don't have a quarterback. You have a quarterback, at least, who doesn't want to be there. Your management is in all types of chaos. You have a GM that is in disarray with whoever they puts in position to be the head coach. And you got another guy who just be around the organization who's like a fake pastor or something like that. So there's a lot of drama going on with the Texans. However, if you are now given an opportunity and the outcry was there aren't enough opportunities, you don't have a choice but to do something with the opportunity. In Lovie Smith's defense, to your point, Lovie Smith is now the first black head coach to be hired 3 times. Remember, he never should have been fired from Chicago. Ask Bears beat writers, go back and do your own homework and do your own history. With the Chicago Bears, Lovie Smith was 81-63. He got fired after a 10-win season because the Bears had the mindset, it is playoffs or bust. However, they didn't keep that same mindset and expectations after Lovie Smith, because if we look at who the Chicago Bears hired, they got a lot more leeway and a lot longer leash than Lovie Smith got, because Lovie got fired after a 10-win season. But if we look at the Bears' most recent head coach, and his name has recently slipped my mind, Sal, get me right, or y'all producers get me right. No, the Bears' most recent head coach, Matt Nagy. If we look at the Bears' most recent head coach, he failed and flopped way more long and with more potency than Lovie Smith. So in Lovie's defense, I would now say, well, yeah, black people are hired at a greater rate than white people are rehired, but it's because they be fired with much more expediency than white coaches are fired, at least in Lovie Smith's example here with the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, and there's examples of both sides to counter that, obviously. This reminds me of, I remember a subject came up, and they call it the tragedy of affirmative action.
You took a class? That sounds like.
No, it was just, I was going to say class, but it wasn't. It was just a section of class. So we had a focus of the tragedy of affirmative action. And basically, in summation, it was this. A lot of people always look at, are you qualified in situations as the first thing, like we were talking about merits, right? And they said the tragedy of affirmative action wasn't so much focused on just, are you qualified? But is that experience what is great for you? What is best for you? They call it situational mismatch. So basically, if you're getting put into a situation just because of color, and it's not the situation for you, even though you're qualified, it still doesn't turn out better for you. So now you look at situations like this where if Lovie Smith wasn't on the tip of their tongue as soon as they said they needed a coach, wasn't at the front of their brain when they said they wanted a coach. And as we know, we all walk around as incentives shape our behavior, as we all walk around and say, well, whatever we desire, our attention is invention. We manifest the most when we care the most about it, right? If Lovie is not deeply respected because he wasn't their first choice, second choice, matter of fact, you were an afterthought because of backlash choice, then is he put into a situation to succeed? And that's what I just question about this, because I didn't hear his name any time before this. And now it almost seems like, let me just say this 100, we need a black coach. Well, who's the best black coach? Get Lovie Smith in here. Is this best for Lovie Smith? No. We're dead last offensively. Let's get a defensive-minded coach in here to fix this. That's a setup for failure.
Let me ask you, now let's just kind of go off of the rails of this specific, but and on the rails of a greater conversation in my mind.
Yeah.
I don't think that Lovie Smith, and I will say black head coaches, have the luxury of being picky with situations.
No.
The reason I say that is, a week ago today, there was one black head coach out of the 29 coaching positions being filled. If you are a minority, you often don't have the luxury of being picky. It's kind of like you have to make the best out of what you are given. And I said this before, I will say it again. Far too often, people play the hands they wish they had instead of the hand that they are dealt. It becomes apparent that any head coach, first and foremost, is likely going to a bad situation.
Yes.
Now, in Lovie Smith's example, he is clearly going to a terrible situation. But you have to play the hand you are dealt, not the hand you wish you had. So if we're talking black head coaches, we know there's going to be a scarcity of opportunities. And if you are a head coach, the opportunity you're going to is already going to be a tragic opportunity. You don't really have the option of being picky. And I would argue that with anybody who is a minority group trying to overcome a situation that might not necessarily be desirable for you. You got to play the hand you're dealt. Sel, coming on this show, you know me. I started co-hosting this with you when I was 29.
Yeah, my dog.
Wasn't nobody on national television hosting their own show, co-hosting their own show at 29. I sink or swim. Better figure it out. Ain't no life rafts. Hopefully you throw me one if I stumble over prompter. Hopefully you throw me one if I mess up on my notes. Hopefully the producers get me right. But sink or swim. I don't have the luxury of being like, oh, I'm too young. I can't do this. I'm too young. Everybody else on the network is 45 plus. No, big dog. You don't have those luxuries. You lost those luxuries if you want to be great and if you want to overcome the odds. Lovie Smith, and I would also argue, most other black head coaches, we do not have those. They do not have those luxuries. Play the hand you are dealt, not the hand you wish you had. Lovie Smith has dealt the Houston Texans hand. You better find a way to make that a winning hand.
Godly. Man, I'm stuck. I'm stuck because it makes so much sense what you're saying. And also, I'm stuck because it doesn't fully map onto my reality. All right. Scarcity of opportunity. So therefore, you got to jump at this one, right? Well, we also know if you're saying there's a scarcity of opportunity, in part, it's connected and correlated to there's also a minority of you in terms of population. Fewer opportunities, there is a connection to there are fewer of you. So you think in your mind that I got to take every opportunity. And that's a problem. To me, that's a fracture in the psyche of minorities that no matter what comes, I got to take it. They call that the soul food thoughts, which is whatever they were feeding us, we just had to make something of it. I'm not going to go that far into that one. We'll talk about that another time. But the brain is a cultural organ in which experience shapes it. So I look at the same situation differently because my experiences have shaped me to look at it from my vantage point, as yours as well. Black head coaches get opportunities. Black head coaches get good opportunities, some great opportunities. Mike Tomlin, who didn't have the greatest of resume, is the coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Talk about stability. They've had 3 head coaches in their entire existence. But if he walked into it with a mentality of whatever comes my way, I got to go take it. I don't know if we got the Hall of Fame coach of Mike Tomlin, who's never had a losing season and is a Super Bowl champion coach. I'm not pushing back against that. I just wonder what's the rub? What's really the middle ground between, hey, man, it's not enough for us, so we got to eat anything versus, hey, dog, I could miss a meal or two to wait for what I really want to eat.
I love this super sociological, if you will, conversation.
Yeah.
One time I was talking to my agents in my agency about some of the greatest creative TV people of all time. And they brought up Law & Order's Dick Wolf. Everybody
yes,
said, dun, dun, dun. Created by Dick Wolf. And then we were talking about the creator of The Sopranos. Now, many look to The Sopranos as one of the greatest shows in television history. Well, I said, well, why didn't he go and why didn't he create again? And he made the correlation, the person who I was speaking to, between The Sopranos, it was a little more exquisite. The creator of The Sopranos, he was like, I made this one. It's great. I'm not going to keep remaking. Dick Wolf, Law & Order SVU, Law & Order this, Law & Order that.
Right.
Just jumping at every opportunity. 2 ways to climb the tree, if you will.
Yeah.
However, I think it just depends on which one do you prefer. Do you want to be McDonald's and be everywhere? Or do you want to be in and out and not necessarily be everywhere, but maybe be it depends on how you want to get to the top.
I ain't no 50 Cent new Dick Wolf like that, because, boy, power, everywhere you go. He on that power tip. All right, coming up, Joe Burrow is already in a Super Bowl in his 2nd season. We'll tell you if his NFL start is more impressive than Patrick Mahomes' interest in. That's next on Speak for Yourself. Burrow is only in his 2nd season, but he has already led the Bengals to their first Super Bowl appearance in 33 years. Compare that to Patrick Mahomes, who threw a career-high 50 touchdown passes, was named league MVP, and led the Chiefs to the AFC Championship game in his 2nd year in the league. Acho, Who has had the more impressive start to their NFL career? Burrow, Mahomes.
Burrow. If Joe Burrow wins the Super Bowl, it's Burrow. I always say you judge a man by the distance traveled. The Chiefs had won 22 games in the 2 seasons prior to Patrick Mahomes being a starter. The Bengals won 21 games in the 4 seasons prior to Joe Burrow being a starter. Understand the distance that Joe Burrow would have traveled if he wins a Super Bowl, as opposed to the distance Patrick Mahomes would have traveled when he won his. Patrick Mahomes won a Super Bowl his 3rd year in the league. Joe Burrow would potentially win a Super Bowl his 2nd year in the league. Joe Burrow's career, his start to his career, is definitely more impressive than Patrick Mahomes if he does, in fact, win a Super Bowl. If Joe Burrow wins this Super Bowl, then you have to remember the team stat of winning a Super Bowl as a quarterback is greater than that individual stat of winning an NFL MVP. Give me an NFL MVP if the rest of my career is lackluster. But if I win a Super Bowl and my career stands above, I don't necessarily need the NFL MVP. Let me break this down.
Yeah, let's go.
Matt Ryan would benefit more in legacy and in totality from a Super Bowl in 2016 than that NFL MVP he got in 2016. Because Matt Ryan's career, he's a winner. He's thrown for several thousands of yards. He's fine. So his career in totality would benefit more from a Super Bowl than it would that individual NFL MVP.
Feel that.
Matthew Stafford, let's take him out of this Super Bowl conversation this year. If Matthew Stafford were to have won a Super Bowl by now, his career would benefit more from that Super Bowl than from a NFL MVP because the rest of his career is already filled as far as body of work. Drew Brees never won an NFL MVP. We don't talk about it much because he's won a Super Bowl. And so Drew Brees, because of how great he was in all other statistical categories, we don't look to the aspect of him not having won a NFL MVP because of the greatness of the rest of his career. I would also submit Cam Newton. Had they won a Super Bowl in that 2015 Super Bowl versus the Denver Broncos, his career would benefit more from that Super Bowl than from an NFL MVP. Cam Newton would probably be a Hall of Famer had he won a Super Bowl. But just as an MVP winner, phenomenal player, changed the way in which the game is played, but nobody's really interjecting him in a Hall of Fame conversation. If Joe Burrow were to win a Super Bowl, his start is more impressive than Mahomes.
Oh, man. Okay. Let's disrespectfully disagree in our respectful way that we do this show. It's easily any way you want to cut it, any way you want to slice it, and there's a lot of ways to slice this one. Patrick Mahomes. Let's go. Okay, let's start off simple. Let's give Joe Burrow a chance, okay? We're talking about your first 2 years in the NFL, from draft at the end of 2 years in the calendar year, right? Because we ain't going to get into that, first 2 years starting. That's not a contest. Okay, so first 2 years. Tell me this, Acho, you say it's Joe Burrow. Year 1, would you want to be Joe Burrow, who played well, got hurt? Or Patrick Mahomes, who didn't play at all and then played in one game, and everybody was like, damn, can't wait to see him next year. Who would you rather be? The guy who's hurt, coming off of surgery?
Mahomes. I don't want to get
Patrick Mahomes winning that one. Okay, the next year. See, this is the crazy part. We ain't finished with this season yet. The movie ain't over yet. It's going to be a crazy ending, but we got to just call this movie and give it a thumbs up or thumbs down. Would you rather be the guy who won a MVP, an NFL MVP, or a guy who's just in the Super Bowl right now?
NFL MVP.
Yes.
Yeah, we don't know how the story ends, but yes.
I told you there's a lot of ways to slice it.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now let's get into where, all right, Joe Burrow, you get into the conversation. You win the Super Bowl. I remind you, there are some sorry quarterbacks that made it to the Super Bowl before, right? So what Joe Burrow's done right now, as great as it is, as tremendous as it is, and as jealous as I am of it, some other suspect quarterbacks have done that, right? Do you want me to name names? Anybody?
Please.
Okay. Well, Chris Chandler. Anybody? Okay. I'm going to stop there. I don't want to keep doing other guys. I'm going to see him at the Super Bowl this week. Here we go. And you know I don't give a damn. So they're going to be mad at me. There's also been some sorry Super Bowl winning quarterbacks. You want to go there? Anybody? I ain't going to say no names. Brad Johnson. I ain't going to say Trent because that's my dog. He's the smartest brain in football. But okay. But you know what there has never been? Any, ever sorry NFL MVPs. So what Patrick Mahomes won, nobody can ever look at it in slight. But you can see someone who appears in a Super Bowl and still be like, Chris Chandler looking at it. Or you can say, oh, he won it. Oh, Brad Johnson. Look. We don't know how this is going to play out. But in the first 2 years, there's no contest. And then if you want to go into the first 2 starting years, oh my God, it's a landslide. Give me the joystick. Because then Patrick Mahomes goes out there, not only does he have the NFL MVP, he wins the Super Bowl. So where do you see Joe Burrow having a chance against Patrick Mahomes in the start?
My answer is contingent upon Joe Burrow winning the Super Bowl. If Joe Burrow does win this Super Bowl, then give me the player who won the Super Bowl in his second year over the player who won NFL MVP in his second year. Because we don't really look at any Super Bowl champion quarterbacks, particularly if they were the driving force of their team, and look at them with kind of like, yeah, but where's your place in the history of the game? You won a Super Bowl. That is your place in the history of the game. You don't?
What about the quarterbacks that weren't good?
That weren't the driving force, sure. We look at them differently. But even the likes of my guys, Nick Foles, he still got a statue in Philly. And Nick Foles only started maybe, I think, 87 to 90 games in the Philadelphia Eagles history, and he has a statue forever. Nick Foles has a place in the city of Philadelphia as a statue held there.
Yeah, but that's the city of Philadelphia. You leave those borders, it's a different conversation. Just like Eli, the most polarizing one is Eli Manning. You bring up Eli Manning in a barbershop and say, was he great or not? You're not leaving that barbershop. Half of them, 2 Super Bowls, beat Tom Brady, miraculous catches and throws. And then somebody else sitting there like, man, please. Dude never won another playoff game outside those 2 years, and those ended in miracles. Like, you just get polarizing responses. My question is, if there's a category that exists within that accomplishment that you're not so proud of, maybe it's not the ultimate accomplishment. Super Bowl appearance, there's still some quarterbacks that get questioned. Super Bowl champion, there's still quarterbacks that get questioned. No one questions an NFL MVP. You by yourself. And that's what I'm saying. The team award, which is the Super Bowl championship, cannot be covered for did you ball out? And I'm looking at Joe Burrow like, yeah, you balled out, but let's be real. 2 games in 2 years with 4 touchdowns. Patrick Mahomes in his first 2 years had 8 games with 4 touchdowns or more, including 2 with 6 touchdowns. How many Joe Burrow games with 6 touchdowns? Nobody can find that. To me, it's Patrick Mahomes.
But the answer, Sal, it's nuanced because Joe Burrow ain't sorry, right?
No, he's not.
We know that Joe Burrow will have more than likely a greater NFL career than Trent Dilfer. Joe Burrow will more than likely have a greater NFL career than Brad Johnson.
Yes.
Joe Burrow will more than likely have a greater NFL career than Joe Flacco in totality. Those things are likely.
Eli, too?
Eli got 2 of them. That's barbershop talk. Eli, you start to get confused. So because we know Joe Burrow is no longer in that, sorry, Super Bowl winner conversation, Joe Burrow got to go into the next Super Bowl winner conversation. And that Super Bowl winner conversation, you stand alone. You don't ever look down at those quarterbacks, even if it's Eli. Eli's still first ballot.
Okay.
So even though Joe Burrow might not have the NFL MVP that Patrick Mahomes has, Joe Burrow is still going to solidify his place. And that's why I'm like, second year, Super Bowl, if he wins it, that's greater than an MVP.
Okay, so there's really only 3 ways to look at it. And it's year 1, you give it to Mahomes. Year 2, you give it to Mahomes unless he wins the Super Bowl, which is the 3rd way of looking at it. And even in that, what is the gap? He wins a Super Bowl, but then you got an NFL MVP who lost to the GOAT in the AFC Championship game in Patrick Mahomes. Is there a wide gap between those 2 years with Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes?
That's what's interesting. No, that gap clearly isn't wide. But the reason that Joe Burrow's first year I would rather be Patrick Mahomes is simply because of injury.
Yeah.
In totality, and as far as legacy, when it comes down to numbers, when it comes down to impact, Joe Burrow's first year is greater than Mahomes' first year. Because at the end of the day, Joe Burrow, it will look and say, 2,000 more yards to your resume.
Got the reps.
Couple 400-yard passing game to your resume. A rookie record to your resume. I think that 400-yard passing game, his rookie season, I think was a record if I'm not mistaken. So Joe Burrow will, in totality, have some more legacy checks from his first year than Mahomes riding the bench.
Yeah. I just don't remember hearing greatest young quarterback potentially of all time after year 2 with Joe Burrow right now. You hearing that conversation?
No. But if he wins,
you think we're going to hear that conversation?
Have to.
Oh, good. Well, he wins then because we ain't hear it after Patrick Mahomes' second year either. It was the 3rd year. Coming up, Jimmy G could be wearing a different uniform next season. That's what I'm hearing. We'll tell you what his worth could be in a trade. That's next on Speak for Yourself.
The writing appears to be on the wall that Jimmy Garoppolo has played his last game with the 49ers. He could be a hot commodity on the trade market this offseason, and reports say that the Niners want a second or third round pick and a player for Jimmy G. So, Sel,
Yes?
what is Jimmy G's worth?
What is his worth? You know me. It's all about dollars and cents. So I know we're going to get into a conversation about draft picks. But first of all, $30+ million. That's my floor. I will not go any lower than that. Jimmy G got $28 million per with only 7 games on his resume. Is Jimmy G thought of in a higher regard now than he was at that time? I would say yes. And some will push back, but you got to remember this. The dude took him to a Super Bowl and was on the doorstep of taking him to another Super Bowl in 3 years. That's who Jimmy G is. So he is just a winner. Stamp him as a winner. Now let's get into these draft picks. For me, it's simple. At least a first rounder. Second rounder, third rounder is the conversation right now. No. Let's end this sweepstakes. Give him a first rounder. Why? Because there's 2 things that are at play. One, the value of a first rounder. Let's look at some of these first round picks. Let's look at the guys you say, oh, they're worth a first rounder. Carson Wentz. Interesting. You know that he has the lowest rated of the first round quarterbacks the last 2 seasons passer rating of guys that you think of as great quarterbacks. You know who's right next to him, under him? Daniel Jones. You know who's right next to him, right under him? Marcus Mariota. Those guys are thought of at a lower tier. Carson Wentz was out there fighting as a franchise quarterback, got paid as a franchise quarterback, but he's not a winner, not like a Jimmy G. Second of all, looking at the draft, what are the quarterbacks in this draft being rated? Pretty low, they say. This is not a great draft for the quarterback position. So what first rounder will you acquire that's going to have greater value? One, you know that they could play in the league, and 2, that they can win in the league than Jimmy G. So for me, start with a first rounder, rip up the contract, give him $30+ million, and now you got Jimmy G in his services.
Yeah, I co-sign with you totally. Jimmy G must get a first round pick.
Yes.
Or you must get a first round pick for Jimmy G, rather. It's simple, y'all. Look at the second round quarterbacks drafted over the last 7 years. You got Kyle Trask this year. You got Jalen Hurts the year before. Y'all got Drew Lock the year before. You got Deshaun Kaiser a couple years prior. You got Christian Hackenberg. Clearly, y'all do not know of much of these names because they did not accomplish much thus far on the football field, some being backups, Jalen Hurts taking over as a starter. But then you got to go back to 2014, the year Jimmy G was drafted, to see a quarterback in Derek Carr who is actually maybe better than Jimmy G for a second-round pick.
There you go.
What this tells you is you can't really get a quarterback you want with the second-round pick. So if you need a quarterback, if you want a quarterback and you got a second-round pick, Jimmy G is going to be better than any quarterback you can get, and that's what history over the last 7 and 8 years in the NFL shows you. So with that being said, Jimmy G is worth a first-round pick.
There you go.
So often, Sel, not just in the NFL, but in life, we always choose to go with the unknown over what is certain.
Yeah.
And what's the saying? Better is the devil that you know than the angel that you don't. You know Jimmy G's demons. You know the devil of Jimmy G. Injury-prone. Might not always be there, physically limited, but he's a winner.
Yeah.
So better is the Jimmy G that you know than the draft pick that you don't.
I love that. Because you just start to give them comps. You start to realize that Carson Wentz was given up for a first-round pick. Now they're talking about Carson Wentz is not their future in Indianapolis. Interesting. Whatever you want to say about that. Like you said, their comps, second round, too low. Look at the comps you just listed. But even in the first rounders, you can look at first-round quarterbacks. Tell me if Jimmy G, in terms of impact, in terms of results, worth more. We always talk about Carson Wentz, Daniel Jones. Marcus Mariota, Cam Newton. Justin Fields, nah, too much potential. I like that angel. You talking about the devil. Nah, give me that angel on that one. Dwayne Haskins, Sam Darnold, Trevor Lawrence, angel. Zach Wilson, human. Devil and angel. I don't know about you yet. Jordan Love, nah, you ain't an angel. I'm going to leave this list here. It starts going to Josh Rosen and guys that we forgot about. It starts going to guys that you're like, oh, they're still in the league. They were first rounders, y'all. Jimmy G deserves a first rounder. He needs to be somewhere to win.
Jimmy G's proven. And regardless of how you feel about Jimmy G, here's what we know. And my conclusion is Jimmy G is actually a proven commodity. And like you said, there is no draft pick coming out that you really want. Jimmy G can take you to the playoffs. Can he win you a Super Bowl? I don't know, but the only way you can win a Super Bowl is if you get to a Super Bowl. The only way you can get to a Super Bowl if you get to the playoffs.
Say it, big dog. Now let's get out of here and do our earthquake drill. You hear all that sound in the background? It's going crazy. Coming up, Justin Herbert was named Pro Bowl MVP. I keep telling y'all this dude next level, but the game is getting a lot of criticism. We'll tell you what the NFL can do about it next on Speak for Yourself. You like my quarterback rankings now? Let's head to Sunday's Pro Bowl. Kyler Murray threw 3 touchdown passes for the NFC. While over on the AFC side, Justin Herbie, threw 2 touchdowns and was named the MVP along with Max Crosby. But the game was called out for its lack of effort. J.J. Watt definitely noticed, tweeting, "I've seen walkthroughs more intense than this." Acho, what can the NFL do about the Pro Bowl, man?
You got to scrap it as we look at it. So let me start with just the real of the real of the real. And check me if I am wrong, please.
Can I start here?
Please.
Get rid of the Pro Bowl, you said?
You got to scrap it as it looks right now.
Talk to me.
I've been in positions. I'll talk about my positions recently.
Okay.
If somebody asked me to come speak at an event, my first question, how much are you paying?
Eat your words.
If they say there is no budget, then my second question, the next most pertinent question is, who all is there and who has previously spoken?
Smart.
Because if you aren't going to compensate me financially, then I at least need to know that the room of people I am going to be in is worth it. Or the people that have entered this room prior to my arrival have made it so prestigious that it's worth it. If you're not going to compensate me, then at least let me know the company that I'm going to be in is elite. Because the company is going to dictate just how prestigious this room is. So when I look at the Pro Bowl, and I look at Mac Jones being in it, and I look at, I believe it was Russell Wilson in it this year in which he broke his thumb, Kirk Cousins being in it, I'm saying to myself, this room is not as prestigious as it should be. Patrick Mahomes should not be in the same All-Star game that Mac Jones is in. Because if I am Patrick Mahomes, I'm looking around and looking at Mac Jones like, what is he doing here? He is bringing down the reputation of the prestige of this game. So, and I want to hear your take, because I know you've been in several Pro Bowls, voted to 3, correct me if I'm wrong. But if you're looking around as a 10-sack guy and you're just looking at a 3-sack guy, you're wondering, wait a second, we don't need to be in the same spot. We don't need to be in the same organization. We don't need to be in the same All-Star game. You got to scrap the Pro Bowl. Live events will always do numbers. The Pro Bowl is currently still being played because it rates. It rates because it is a live event. You can't go back and watch it on demand. Yes. My thing is create some sort of Olympic-type atmosphere and game with the athletes. We want to see athletes actually race off, not like Cheetah just kind of jogging. We want to see athletes actually race off. We want to see athletes compete. We want to see the best of the best compete. Find a competition in which they can all compete at, diminish the risk of injury, but at least let's still see athletes going at it.
Man, broke that down. To me, it's a little simpler than that. Thank you for the love, too. And I need to go to the school of Emmanuel Acho and his booking agent. Goodness. How much you getting a gig? Can I tell anybody? How much you getting a gig? A grip? Okay. Check my Palm Pilot if everybody out there know the Friday reference. That's what I would do. Check my Palm Pilot. You can get Wiley real cheap. So if Acho over there putting y'all through all that, holla at your boy. Here's the thing, Acho. This is a real simple answer. Be real. Don't be an analyst. Don't be a broadcaster. No one wants to play extra football. Not a single soul ever. No one, and I've said this before, I'm going to say it again because it's now being proven true. No one unconditionally loves the game of football. It's not like you choose football. Football chooses you. You know what we choose? Basketball. Hey, Acho, what you doing after work? Oh, I don't know. You want to go get some run? You want to play some basketball? Sure. Hey, Acho, what you doing after work? I don't know. You want to go hit some balls, play a little round of golf? Sure. Hey, Acho. Hey, man, you want to go throw the pads on and, go between the 20s and get in the red zone? Man, hell no. What the hell wrong with you? Only your drunk, insane uncle during Turkey Bowl on Thanksgiving wants to play extra football. Not a single soul ever raised their hand. Can we stop with this? I love football to the death. No, you don't, because football hurts. And no one loves something unconditionally that hurts like football. Here's the thing. I'm going to be serious. We're at a critical point where the axes collide. And when the axes collide, you know where that is? Zero. What do? Nothing. What can you do? You can't incentivize these guys. They've tried all the tricks. I remember they were like, well, the winner gets 50,000 and the loser gets 10. Oh, we're going to play harder for 40,000. It sounds good until you realize what you got to do to get the 40. You're like, damn, you already beat up. You already been playing since July. What? Another game? No. So then it turns into what we see now. I'm going to show you guys two videos. One is from my era of the Pro Bowl, and this is even with conversation this is the first one actually what we see yesterday from Mac Jones, who is playing, I don't know if that's football or freeze tag. Keep going. Now we're going to see the other one, my era of football. Come through here if you want to go to sleep. Now, you want to know what changed between my era and now? I'll tell you exactly what changed. Everyone's smarter now. Like, we worked harder. Now y'all work smarter. You realize I don't need to go to the Pro Bowl to see who's the best of the best. I don't need to go out there and see if I'm better than him. I don't need to check. They make too much money. They see everything. They already feel that they're properly respected and revered. We used to play for a little bit of a edge over somebody else in reputation. Like, oh man, everybody didn't see me play this year. Because, you know, we had 3 channels when I played, right? And, we didn't have the internet. So I got to go watch Wiley in the Pro Bowl if he's better than this other player. That's all been taken off the board, big dog. Now, nobody wants to play football.
So what should I do in your mind? Literally nothing?
No, nothing. Just keep putting it out there. People going to watch either that or the Puppy Bowl. I don't know what the hell people watch outside of the Pro Bowl. Let it rate. And let it be. But you're not watching that for a real football game.
You, someone who actually played in the Pro Bowl, and I know some of the get off my lawn guys, but it's you, someone who actually played in the Pro Bowl.
Yeah.
Don't you watch that game and you're like, they are diminishing not only the value of the game, the integrity of the Pro Bowl, but also like what guys like me, the late great Sean Taylor, who we just showed, like what guys really went out there to represent, and they are just completely undermining what we built up. Or do you not feel like that at all?
I don't feel like that. I don't. And I've been argued against for feeling the way I feel. Put it like this, layman's terms. You go to the club, I go to the club, I got my table, right? I put my credit card down, I got the bottles, everybody. When some dude walks up and he like, yo, what's up, Wiley, all that, I'm like, oh, cool, you can get a drink. Then he all of a sudden, he's now my bestie, right? So he's also, this gerbil done turned into like, I'm just going to sit at your table. I don't have a problem with it as long as we got room. I don't have a problem with you didn't necessarily pay your way to this place. You don't deserve to be here on merit. More the merrier to me. If you got in here, good for you. But let me bring it back to this. Here's a story to answer your question for real. First play in my first Pro Bowl. I only played in one because I always was hurt. Chris Samuel, if you know the name, Washington Commanders, I guess you call them back then. And the first play from scrimmage, I go 50%. Now, my 50% was different than his 50%. His 50% was, cool, I'm chilling. My 50% was Max Crosby, like, you know what I'm saying? And he was like, Wiley, oh, that's how we playing today? Okay. And that's all he said. And I wasn't okay with how he said okay. So I learned 2 things about the Pro Bowl. 1, you will never get it right because no 2 players have the same 50%. And 2, hey, dog, I'm trying to get a little shine out here. Don't waste my whole trip to Vegas. Shut up. Love you, Chris. The Dolphins have a new head coach, and we'll tell you if they got the right guy, and Mike McDaniel. I said McDaniel. That's next on Speak for Yourself.
Like, don't you think they should be... The Dolphins moved on from Brian Flores and have named former 49ers OC Mike McDaniel, no S, as their new head coach. McDaniel is known for being the key in Deebo Samuel's All-Pro season. It's also worth noting McDaniel identifies as multiracial, making him the first minority head coach hire in this cycle.
Is he black or what? What you talking about?
His dad is black, I believe, and his mom is white. His grandmother's black. His mom is white and Hispanic.
Okay.
Y'all fact check me.
Gumbo.
He's
I love
multiracial.
it.
There's another colorism conversation that we won't have. Sal, did the Dolphins get the right guy in Mike McDaniel?
I don't know. I don't know what to think. You know why? Because I've been conditioned not to know what to think in this situation. We got an offensive coordinator that doesn't call plays. That's what a genius head coach. Eric Bieniemy, anyone? And it's interesting. What did you guys tell me about Eric Bieniemy? Maybe not a head coach. Greater in the role that he has already. So right now I'm starting to say, is he a great hire? While I know he's not going to a great place in terms of job security, we can certainly look at the resume and the issues that have plagued the head coaching hires. Remember we went through that? We were talking about, well, Brian Flores unjustly fired. I was like, well, maybe Adam Gase was too as well, because Adam Gase, one fewer loss, but then he also had the playoff appearance. Then you start getting into all the other names, and in the last decade, it's been like 7 head coaches for the Miami Dolphins. So now you're looking like, is he the right guy? So let me pump him up a little bit. He was in charge of the run game, as they say, run game coordinator. Boy, you talking about justifying somebody on the payroll. You're the run game coordinator. Don't call plays, but you're my offensive coordinator. Okay, whatever. I do know that Deebo Samuel loves him, because Deebo Samuel got to show everyone his exploits because of what Mike McDaniel was able to do. So I look at his resume, looks fine. Like all other coaches, you get to a certain point, you hit that ceiling where it's like, I'm a coordinator. Now I need to be a head coach to show my worth. I'm not slighting him in a bit, but I also don't know if this is going to stick and root in Miami.
Man, I'll say yes, they got the right guy, and I'll say yes. I'll lead with my first take, because the Dolphins have Tua, injury-prone, limited physically, but he's a winner. The Niners had Jimmy G, injury-prone, limited physically, but he's a winner. You look at Tua, you look at Jimmy G over the last couple years, highest winning percentages in football, they're top 10%. Now let me talk to Sal real quick. We don't have very long. I'm very interested to see if this brainiac coach who didn't play the game, especially didn't play it at a high level, will it work? For me, there's always a wrestle with like, yo, if you've played the game, it behooves you to coach the game. Then everybody goes to, Bill Belichick didn't play the game, what do you know? But then it's like, yes, but more often than not, even like Kyle Shanahan was a walk-on at Texas. Sean McVay, everybody I'm sure has seen the recent viral tweet. He was Georgia's high school player of the year over Calvin Johnson. Bruce Arians, he played the game. So I'm very interested in finally this reckoning of, Mike McDaniel looks like he's a Yale grad, but he's 5'9". I'm interested to see, you have to command a room of grown men.
Yes.
And, there's the whole analytic football crowd that's rising. Then there's a macho, over-toxic masculinity football crowd. And this is finally going to be a very interesting dynamic of which one is most necessary.
Yeah, you call him a brainiac because he went to the Ivy League school. Shout out to Yale. Shout out to Columbia, huh? So you call me a brainiac when I'm not around? Interesting. Here's one thing I know that he has to check in terms of the box. Miami doesn't starve necessarily for a play caller. They starve for a leader and an adult in that organization to help them get to where they desire to go. I know it's crazy when I heard McDaniels and multiracial. I was like, Josh McDaniels? And I was like, oh, no, it wasn't the same dude. And he like, well, I ain't black. Coming up, Jim Harbaugh says his NFL interest was a one-time thing. I'll tell you if he's keeping it 100 or just 99. Next on Speak for Yourself. McDaniel like, well, that's why this offer. On this show, we only know how to keep it 100, but others, they only keep it 99. Each day, we're going to get to the bottom of who's really telling the truth. Case in point, Jim Harbaugh is back at Michigan after he was not offered the head coaching job with the Vikings. Harbaugh explained his near return to the NFL, saying, quote, there was a pull to the NFL because I got that close to the Super Bowl. But this was the time to try and return. And this is the last time. Acho, is Jim Harbaugh keeping it 100 or 99?
He's keeping it 99, Sel. But imagine getting so burned and so scorned that you give up on everything in its entirety. Like, the Vikings played Jim Harbaugh so bad that he said, I'm not even going to try to attempt a return to the National Football League. Now, it's his fault. You got caught looking stupid, and you did, in fact, look stupid. So I think he's keeping it 99 because eventually he'll get over it in about 2 years and try again.
Man, it just takes me back to Tonight, a song by DJ Quick when he had a bad episode, let's say, with some alcohol. And he said, oh, God, I'll never drink again if you just let me live. And then someone said, yeah, right. He said, yep, because as soon as we go, I'm doing the same old thing tonight. Jim Harbaugh, what the hell? You know damn well if somebody came a-knocking and it was a dream job and it was one of the jobs you really thought you can get, you'll be back at it on that recruiting trail again and then trying to get a job in the NFL. I hate when people just throw it all away, like you said, just because they got caught with their hand in the cookie jar. Boy, do you believe them if you're Michigan, though? Like, what do you think?
Not at all.
Hell no, that's it for us. Acho, go listen to Tonight because I know you know what I'm talking about. Fox Bet Live is next.